Jessica Sporn here, letting you watch over my shoulder as I take this page, transform it to this one, and then add to it. So we're picking up where I'd already sketched this figure of a girl loosely on my art journal, and I'm just painting it in with some white to just give me the outlines of the body. Got a heart in the center, and I paint in her dress. And really what I'm sharing here is just how much I go over and just keep adding and taking away before something says to me, you're done. And so it's really hard to just keep breathing through this whole process and not be constantly judging. It's a constant practice, and I think it's very much analogous to life, that we have to realize that everything's a process. We're never really done. We don't always get it right the first time. Sometimes it's pleasurable, sometimes it's painful, but if you can keep breathing and remember that one thing leads to the next, so it's not like there's really a beginning and really an ending point. If you can keep all that in mind and just relax, it's much better. So this is advice I'm giving to myself all the time, and maybe one day I'll actually learn it. So you can see here I'm just going back and forth with my portfolio pastels, adding darks, adding lights, adding cool colors, adding warm colors. I apologize for the glare in this, but I thought it was still worthwhile seeing, because when we see these beautiful portraits and faces that people paint, I think it's important to remember that it's all part of a process, and they're not the way we want them to be all at once. And that's a good thing, because if we just had a vision in our minds and got it completely quote unquote right, it wouldn't always end up the best way. Sorry for being so inarticulate, but that's the best I can explain it. So here the glare is finally gone. It's either a different day or a different time of day, and I'm pulling back and I'm going back and forth. You can see to the left is a little magazine ad that has a girl looking up, and obviously I'm not trying to paint her, but I just needed her for the placement of the eyes and the pupils. Decided to give this girl a part in her hair. Mostly I'm using golden fluid acrylics and portfolio pastels, some gesso here and there too. And then I decided that I didn't like the shape of her dress, so I'm just changing it. And I'm covering it with white gesso, which I then decide to completely outline her in. And obviously this is going to change the nature of this piece, because she's no longer going to be in front of these beautiful fronds that are from a stencil by Terry Stegmiller. So initially I loved those fronds, but even though I know they're underneath this painting, they might not be totally visible. It's never too late to change things, even the color of a dress. So once I have the white around her, it's okay to make her dress green. I decided I wanted her to have a jumper and not just an orange dress. And again, I'm just layering in different colors of paints, different shades. I'm not really thinking about where the light is hitting her, but just adding some variation in her dress, and gives her a little bit of depth and dimension. So somehow we're going from day to night here. I'm blending in the background, adding some blues and some greens, and it's just going to get darker and darker. I don't really know why, except for that I was just moved to do that. And here's a big old moon coming up. So this is the 6-pointed stars and swirls stencil from Stencil Girl products, which I'm using to add stars and interest to the night sky. And because I don't want to stencil right over her, I'm just going around her using the fact that I can kind of see through this stencil. As you can see, it's pretty painty because I do not clean my stencils. And I do find that with stencils like this that have very fine openings, using a brush rather than the cosmetic puff gives me a little more control and gets into those little crevices a little bit better. And this is just one of those cheapo paint brushes from, I think, Sargent. You can find them in the kids painting sections at A.C. Moore or Michael's. Tree leaves from Judy's Trees, stencil from Stencil Girl products. And I'm putting a piece of paper across the girl where her dress is just to make sure I don't get leaves on her dress. I never like to just pounce on a stencil and just leave it like that. I like to add my own hand to it, even if it's a stencil that I designed. And I highly recommend that when you use stencils, you just use them as a tool and add in your own personality. Using my little skinny brush to add some smaller stars into the night sky. To the right of this journal page is some work I was doing with a new stencil that's coming out called Teapot and Teacups. That should be out soon with a demo of that page as well. And here I'm just adding again my own hand with Judy's Trees. I'm adding some black outlines to the leaves just to define them a little bit more. And then I'll come in and add some lighter shading as well. Again, just making it look like my own, even though it's my stencil, but just still giving it my own hand on top of the Pounce design. And that in turn also lets it have a painterly effect that meshes with the overall page. And I'll give you a link to my blog post in which I really talked about the motivation behind this girl. She came from deep in a place inside of me. I've been painting her a lot in different shapes and forms. And she's really happy in this painting, giving out love to the world and receiving love back. I wanted something to symbolize the love radiating out of her heart, and this is a stencil by Michelle Ward. All the links are in my blog post, and it was just the perfect touch to give that effect of just rays of love coming from her. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share it and visit me at my blog. Thanks.